Hi guys, I would like to explain about relative clauses using for, during, when, while, before, after, until. In the last before this we already studied about this. The previous pattern we had learned like this for explain the subject John. The example like this: John sees Mary, and the answer is you know who sees Mary. Or when we explain the object Mr. Miller, like this example, Mary sees Mr. Miller. The relative clause became you know who Mary sees. Now I would like to explain the new pattern. This is for explain the subject, the student. The example, I'm pointing to the student. The student sees Mary. And the answer, the sentence became, I'm pointing to the student that sees Mary. Or, I'm pointing to the student who sees Mary. For the object, when we want to explain the man, this one and this one, like this example, I'm pointing to the man. Mary sees the man. The relative clause using that whom or who become I'm pointing to the man that Mary sees, or I'm pointing to the man that whom Mary sees, or I'm pointing to the man who Mary sees. And in the question statement, we can write like this. For we explain the student, so the student as subject, so the question statement A is, are you painting to the student that sees Mary? Or we explain the man as object. The question statement is, are you pointing the man that Mary sees? Note, who and whom are used for persons, which is used for things or an animal. That is used for person, things, and animal. In pattern subject, that is more common for things and animal than we use which. Whom can use in pattern object only. Whom is used for formal writing and speeches. For the example statement and the question, the girl speaks French. Did you meet her? For the answer, yes, I met her that speak French. Her, it's explained about the girl who speaks French. Or we can answer, no, I didn't meet her that speaks French. In the negative sentence, met verb 3 became verb 1 meet. For present subject, like this one, the example, the man gave me a map. The second sentence, the man drove the bus. The relative clause for these sentences is the man who drove the bus gave me a map. So we use the man, the subject, and then we ask who drove the bus, and we will back to the first sentence, give me a map. For the patterns object, the man gave me a map. I was talking to the man. The man I was talking to gave me a map. And then we learn how to put the information of the first statement inside the second one. For pattern subject, the man, example, the man was here yesterday. He is in New York now. The relative clause using that, the ordinator that, we have in the same subject in these two sentences. That is the man and he. So the relative clause for this is the man that was here yesterday is in New York now. We only use only one subject for these two sentences in one sentence to become in one sentence. We not repeat he, but only we use the man. And for the pattern object, for the example, the man, Mary talked to the man. He is in New York now. The man, this, he, the man this as object, and this is he. So the sentence, relative sentence clause is the man that Mary talked to is in New York now. Now I will explain how using whose and who in relative clauses. For the example, for subject, pattern subject, the man came yesterday. The second sentence, the man's book is here. The man whose is used for the subject, what the subject have. The man whose book is here came yesterday. For the pattern object, the example is the first sentence. The man came yesterday. John bought the man's car. The object is the man's car. So the relative clause using use is the man whose car John broke came yesterday. And then I will explain about the relative clause with that is and the equivalent without that is. For example, I gave the book to the man that is writing the letter. And the equal without that is, the sentence become, I gave the book to the man writing the letter. The book that is on the table is not very expensive. The book on the table is not very expensive. That may be omitted from the relative clause in the following sentence. Like, for the example, I saw a fish that weighed 30 pounds. If that is omitted, the verb must be replaced with it ing form. If we're not using that, so the verb this must be replaced with it with ing form. For the example, I saw a fish weighing 30 pounds. Notice the use of for and during. First, I would like to explain for is used with noun phrases which denote a quantity of time, such as an hour, 2 hours, 8 weeks, a long time. For answer question, how long? When we find the question with how long, is usually we use for. For the example, how long did you study? For an hour. Or the complete answer is, I studied for an hour. Number 2, when we use during is used with noun phrases which refer to a period of time, such as the afternoon, the course, the summer, and etc. During answers the question when. When we found the sentence question, the question sentence using when, so we answer with during. For the example, when did you study? The answer is during the afternoon. Or I studied during the afternoon. Now I will explain about using while and when. The subordinators while and when are used to indicate that two conditions or events occur at the same time. And how we know that when we use while and when. Sentence plus while or when plus sentence. For the example, John left while Mary was studying. John left is past tense, while plus Mary was studying, past continuous tense. And when we use when, Mary was studying when John left. So Mary was studying is past continuous tense, and John left is past tense. And when we use while, we use past tense first, while, and then past continuous tense. And when we use when, the subordinator when, for the first sentence is past continuous tense, when, and then past tense. Or when also can use in the first sentence past tense, when, and past tense. For the example, Mary studied when John left. And then I would like to explain how we use for, until, and after in the expression of time. This is for example, the phone rang before John arrived. Mary studied until John arrived. Mary turned on the radio after John arrived. Before, until, after are followed by an embedded statement, an embedded sentence. And then the next example, the phone rang before 10 o'clock. Mary studied until 10 o'clock. Mary turned on the radio after 10 o'clock. In this third sentence, before, until, and after are followed by noun phrase. For we must remember first, with the subordinator before and after, you may also use an ing verb expression. For example, Mary studied before eating. Paul left after getting his money. Second, don't use until with expression of place or distance. Until today is correct, but not until the drugstore. For the drugstore, we can use as far as the drugstore. And in the end, I would like to explain the statement which begin with a subordinator. Put the subordinate phrase and or clause after the main clause. For the example, before he went to the movie, John ate supper. John ate supper before he went to the movie. The second example is until he ate a sandwich, John was very hungry. John was very hungry until he ate a sandwich. The difference is in this sentence, first sentence and second sentence. John ate supper. It's main clause. And we will not use this. So the main clause must use in first sentence. So the answer is John ate supper before he went to the movies. Okay, thank you for this. And I hope you will understand what I explained. Bye.